Hey folks, Nick here from another BookTube channel, and today my June wrap-up and also my official announcement that I will be once again co-hosting GarbAugust. So I have gained a lot of new subscribers in the year since I did GarbAugust last year, so I'll explain what it is again. GarbAugust is an event, it's a BookTube event that was started by Criminali, which celebrates trashy literature. So the idea is to, for that month, put down the snobby, scholarly, high literature that you might read on a regular basis, pick up something trashy instead, whether it be a pulp horror book from the 70s, or a trashy romance, like a vampire romance perhaps, or like a men's adventure book. Something like that, just to embrace the other side of what reading can be. It's not all about being highbrow. Sometimes it's really fun to live in the garbage bin. So I'll use it as an opportunity to lead into one of the books I read this month. So I'll kill two birds, one stone here. Part of what we classify as trashy books would be novelizations or media tie-ins. The idea is that a trashy book needs to be made cheaply and quickly in order to cash in on a certain craze or something that's really popular at the time. A novelization or media tie-in would count because it's cashing in on the popularity of a movie or TV show. So last GarbAugust, I discovered the Buffy the Vampire Slayer novels. Through that, I read one of the Buffy books. I don't remember what it was called, but it was pretty good, and I liked it enough where I ended up buying 22 more Buffy novels just at once on a whim. That may or may not have been a good idea. Probably not a good idea at this stage. But another book one book that I did read this month was Sons of Entropy, which is the third and final book in the Gatekeeper trilogy by Christopher Golden and Nancy Holder. This trilogy as a whole, I think I will review during this GarbAugust. So I'll save my thoughts on this book for then. Oh, I almost dropped it. But yeah, so that's the idea. And if you want to play along at home, if you want to read some trashy books along with me and with the other co-hosts, of which there are many, then there are a lot of ways to do that. I recommend checking out Criminali's channel when he posts, or he probably has posted already, his full announcement video and all of the ways you can play along at home. There are things like Instagram prompts. He's including movies this year. There's weekly prompts, and there's a bingo card where you can you try to read as many books as possible to complete the bingo card. And the prize is you got to read a lot of books and had fun. I personally don't do all of these things. You don't need to either, just because I know that I don't have the attention span for all of it, nor the time for all of it. What I focus on primarily are the weekly prompts. So that's what you're going to see on my channel, is I will be, when August begins, I will tell you what those prompts are. Actually, if I was smarter, I would have had those ready for you here. Let me see if I can remember them. I think novelizations and media tie-ins is there again. Men's adventure or category romance. So you could choose which one of those you want to do for that week. Category romance would be like supernatural romance or Western romance, something like that. What else? Oh God, I don't know. I'll look them up and I'll post them here. This way you can plan ahead if you want. So that's gonna be GarbAugust. So my videos in August will be focused primarily on garbage books, not completely though. I'm also gonna try to do some garbage or trashy comics during that month as well. Last year I looked at the Air Pirates Funnies comic, the unlicensed Mickey Mouse underground comic. Which has made the rounds on the internet, has some really funny images in there. So you can check my videos from last August to get a sense of what this is. So that's that. let me now jump into the rest of my June wrap-up. I already showed you the Buffy book. Next up, I read an 87th Precinct book, The Heckler by Ed McBain. This is another series I discovered because of GarbAugust. I don't remember what category it was for. Was it Men's Adventure? Which is, honestly, was wrong. This is not a Men's Adventure series at all. I just thought because it's all men in the 87th Precinct, and maybe they have like solving crimes is a little bit like an adventure, but it's not really. But great. This book introduces the Deaf Man as an ongoing antagonist for the 87th Precinct, specifically the character Steve Carella, where the Heckler, the Deaf Man, is a criminal mastermind, tries to pull off heists, and it's up to, and he taunts the police. It's up to the cops of the 87th Precinct to prevent him from committing this crime. And it's awesome. It's great. I haven't found a bad 87th Precinct book yet. A comic I read was Persepolis by Marjane Satrapi. This is volume 1. I'm currently reading volume 2 right now. I will probably finish it before the end of the month, so we'll include that as a completed comic as well, though I haven't actually finished it yet. This was really good. This is in the vein of like Mouse, where it's simple black and white comics, but it's about people going through really horrible times. In this case, Satrapi was a child in Iran during the Islamic Revolution, living before it, and then it starts, and then she has to, her and her family, who are left-leaning, dealing with the fallout of the Islamic fundamentalists rising to power, instituting strict laws that, if you disobey them, could lead to you being straight up murdered, executed in the streets. So not a fun time for Marjane, but very interesting to learn about that. I didn't know anything about the Islamic Revolution before reading it, and now I feel like I know a little bit. And it was just, it's a very easy read. It's actually, this is actually a school book now, at least in New York it is, and I think it's a great school book, especially for like going into high school. I think it's a really great idea for a school book. Something completely different, horror movie by Paul Tremblay. I posted a full review of this on the channel, so I'll tell you, go check that out if you want my complete thoughts. But this is Paul Tremblay returning to form, delivering one of his best novels in years. He was on a little bit of a downslide. This picks it right back up. This is approaching, you know, as good as A Head Full of Ghosts or Cabin at the End of the World or Survivor Song. Like, this is really top-notch horror storytelling, very meta, just interesting things to say about, you know, the film industry. There's a lot going on here. Check out my full review. I love that book. Oh, before I forget, I don't have the copy anymore. I also read The Princess Bride by William Goldman. Also posted a review of that on my channel. It was fine. Honestly, the more I think about it, the more I didn't like it. In retrospect, the movie is much, much better. The movie, if you love the movie, reading the book is actually just like a big step back, because the movie is so succinct and takes all of the best things about the book and just makes them perfect. You can't beat the casting. You can't beat the experience of the movie. The book has some good things in it, but just watch the movie. Honestly, it takes less time and it's more fun. A Crown of Swords by Robert Jordan, book 7 of the Wheel of Time. Also posted a full review of this one. Making good progress on my Wheel of Time reread. I enjoyed this one. I am undecided on whether or not this counts. Whoop, what is with me almost dropping books today? What is going on? I'm undecided on whether or not this is part of the slog yet. I would think plot-wise, it kind of is, but character-wise, it's not. There's some great character moments in A Crown of Swords that you cannot overlook. It's got some strong stuff in there, some very memorable scenes. Another long series that I've been making my way through, Persepolis Rising, also book 7 of a series, book 7 of The Expanse, by James S.A. Corey. I really love The Expanse books. This one took me by surprise the way that it started. I wasn't expecting it to do what it did in the very beginning, but it basically, it doesn't reset the series, but it creates almost a new starting point for it. Like a new story arc begins here, and that's awesome. I think that's actually great for a long series like this. I have 2 more books to go, and what they were doing in books 1 through 6, I feel like that story wrapped up pretty nicely, but now we have the fallout of that story coming much later, which, again, unexpected, but a lot of fun. Great book. A book that I just finished reading literally 15 minutes ago, City of Glass by Paul Auster. This was a weird one, and I don't know if I'm going to do a full review of it, because I got to sift through my thoughts on this. If you've ever read it, you know what I'm talking about. This is a weird hallucinatory mystery set in New York City, about an author who is mistaken for Paul Auster, who the person thinks Paul Auster is a private detective. They call Paul Auster asking him for help because he thinks his father's going to kill him. So can you please investigate and protect me? And the main character in this decides, all right, I'm just going to play along and do that. And so he takes on the role of Paul Auster, being a private eye, and things just get really just strange, and it becomes this journey about like identity crisis and, you know, the blurring between fact and fiction. This is a weird one. I honestly, I haven't had a lot of time to digest it yet, but it's a weird one. And honestly, actually, I'll take this opportunity to lead into my next book I'm talking about, which is Asterios Polyp by David Mazzucchelli. The reason I'm lumping these together is because this book ended up getting a graphic novel adaptation drawn by David Mazzucchelli. I haven't read that adaptation yet. I plan to, but I think it's interesting because in Asterios Polyp, David Mazzucchelli also deals very deeply and heavily with the idea of identity crisis and 2 sides of the same coin. You know, people who are duplicitous, and like the idea of like twins, like black and white dichotomy, like stuff like that. So I don't know if the graphic novel adaptation of City of Glass came before this. This was 2009. I think it maybe was before. And after reading this, I'm not surprised that David Mazzucchelli wanted to do City of Glass. But Asterios Polyp, I posted a review of this already. This is one of the greatest graphic novels I've ever read in my life. This is a tremendous achievement, a perfect example of what the graphic novel medium is capable of. This is something that I put up there on the Mount Rushmore of comics, even though I've only just read it the once. Maybe it's recency bias. I don't know, but I don't think so, because watch my full review. There is some amazing stuff in here. Everything works together in just a symbiotic relationship, totally in sync with itself. The writing, the lettering, the art, the composition, the coloring, did I say that? The lettering, everything. It all just blends and works perfectly to tell the story that Mazzucchelli was trying to tell. Sensational book. Watch my full review of that one. I got a few more comics here, and then I think only one more book, so let's get through the comics. The Girl from Hoppers by Jaime Hernandez. I did a deep dive video on one of the stories in here. This is volume 3 of Love and Rockets. Loved this. This was a good month for me, man. I read some really great books. Oh, I am going to look back on June 2024 and say that was a good time in my life, because I read some bangers. This is also fantastic. Love and Rockets. Finally, I fell in love with the series with this volume, and I eagerly look forward to continuing it. A comic that I thought was just okay, Banner. This is a 4-issue miniseries by Brian Azzarello and Richard Corbin. I'm not a huge Richard Corbin fan. I'm sorry, I need to take a drink. Oh my god, I've been talking so much. I'm not a huge Richard Corbin fan. I like his stuff. I don't love his stuff. It's definitely like hit and miss and project by project. I think his Incredible Hulk looks really great. It's kind of goofy, but also terrifying. ultimately, the story here, I think, just let me down. This was part of the startling stories imprint that Marvel did in the early 2000s, I think. It was meant to be like a gritty, horrific look about like, what if the Hulk was real in the real world? And I don't feel like it truly accomplished that. It just kind of felt like another Hulk story. And I don't know that it contributed a lot new to the conversation about the Hulk. Some good stuff in there, but I don't know, just okay. Good art, really good art. And the last comic I read was, this is another one of my personal bindings, my hand bindings that I did, is Challengers of the Unknown. This is called, I believe, Challengers of the Unknown Must Die. It's an 8-issue series by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. It's actually their first collaboration together. I also did a deep dive into the issue 1 of this comic, so I recommend checking that out. This was very good. This was very surprising. It was very different than what I expected it to be. Follows the Challengers of the Unknown, picks up many years after they've kind of fallen out of relevancy, and it sees them dealing with this big catastrophe that separates them, and they each go and they follow their own course, and then eventually they have to come back together. It's an interesting story, kind of weird. I don't know that it's a great success, but it's at least an interesting look at the first collaboration between these two great creators. The last book that I read is The Daughter of Dr. Moreau by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. I like Moreno-Garcia's work. I really enjoyed Mexican Gothic. I thought Silver Nitrate was pretty good. I would say this is better than Silver Nitrate, but not quite as good as Mexican Gothic. This is, as the title suggests, a riff on the island of Dr. Moreau, in which the Doctor is exiled to the Yucatan Peninsula in the 1870s, and he is working on his hybrid creatures of like animals and man combination. He's building them, he's putting them together to basically sell them as labor to the person that owns the property and his employer. But the primary focus of the book is on his daughter, Carlotta. And she is growing up just in this strange house, and she's experiencing the traditional kind of like coming of age experiences of a young girl, of a young woman as she enters adulthood, falling in love for the first time, getting burned by that. But it's framed in this very strange science fiction setting of hybrids all around her. It was good. I don't typically go for romance, but I thought that the romance bits worked really well. I also thought the sci-fi bits worked really well. So there's another really solid book by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. I'm a fan of hers. I like it. So that's it. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 books that I finished in June, plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 comics and graphic novel collections. Pretty good month. Damn, I read some good books. And I read a lot of books. That's fun. That makes me feel good. So yeah, that's it for my June. Keep an eye out, again, for my GarbAugust announcements coming soon. Let me know what you read in the month of June, what you liked, what you didn't like. Thank you very much for spending some time with me today. But now, it's time to get back to reading.